Hello, good evening. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples from the homework from chapter 8.2. As you can see, we're going to be looking at problems number 20, 24, and then some other ones. So remember how we talked in class? We talked about having the idea of having the domain and a range be represented with order pairs. Let's recall that, and let's say that every single x that we have here is going to be our domain, while our range is going to be every single y value that we have. And we always want to make sure that we list them from least to greatest. So looking at the numbers that we have for domain, we have -15, 0, 4, and -3. When I list them, remember we put them in from least to greatest. So we begin with -3, comma, then we have 4, we have 0, comma, then we have 4, comma, and then we end up with 15. The range for this is going to be all the green values that you see here. We begin with -8, comma, then we have -3, we have 0, and then we have +6. And that deals with finding a domain and range for the given relation. Remember, this is a relation. The next one is number 24. It says determine whether the relation represents a function between the two, between y and x and y. So the way that we analyze this is by looking at all the given domains that we have from set A. And just as long as we know that there is a uniqueness of 1 to 1, then we're okay. For this particular example, we can see that this is not the same because 0 goes to 10 and at the same time 0 goes to 12. So this is not a function and it's not a relation according to what we said. We see that 0 goes to two different place values on the y. So we're kind of like splitting up 0. Remember, we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we have this one-to-one understanding when it comes down to the function that's being given to us. Number 54, it says g of 2 and g of 3. What we want to do is we want to be able to evaluate. We want to be able to take 2, and wherever I see x, I am going to substitute what I know about x. So in our example here is going to be 2. I get to substitute 2 in there. So I have g of 2 is equal to 2 to the third power. That's 2 times 2 times 2, which gives us 8. 8 minus 2 will give us 6. So when I input 2, I get an output. I get an output of 6. The same thing when we have a g of 3. I take g of 3 is equal to what I'm going to substitute into the given function. And I see g of 3 is equal to 3 to the third power. That's 3 times 3 times 3. That would put us at 27. 27 minus 3 will give us 24. So when I put in 3, my output is going to be 24. Let's see what other examples that I chose. Number 86 is part of your homework. It just simply says graph the given function. Remember, if you have your slope and if you have your y-intercept, which is your b, you definitely know how to graph this. So on this graph line, don't forget y-axis, x-axis, -1, -2, 0, 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3, 1, 2, 3. And the way that we begin with this is by always making sure that we begin with our y-intercept that is located at -2. And from there we use the slope of rise over run. So I'm going to go up 2 to the right 3. So I go up 1, 2, to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I get to connect these two. Make sure your line passes through the 2 points. Make sure you put arrows on both of the ends. And voila. Here is the function that we have of y is equal to 2/3 x minus 2. And then the last problem that I wanted to talk about was just, it's not an actual problem, but I think it was more of a hint. If you have two lines set to be parallel, that means that we have one line and your second line is identical to it, and they are parallel because the rise over run that you have, they're exactly the same thing. So the slope for parallel lines are going to be the same. So same slope. As opposed to the perpendicular ones, lines that are perpendicular, you may have a slope of, let's say, -2, for example. The rule says that if the two lines are set to be perpendicular, they are going to intersect. Where they intersect, they create 90 degrees at that point right here. And the way that we are able to identify their slope is by taking the reciprocal of the one that's being given to you and then multiplying it by -1. So the reciprocal of this, even though there is no 1 under it, we are going to add the 1 to it. The reciprocal will be 1/2, and then we multiply by a -1 that turns it into a half. So those are the notes that I wanted to help you out with. Hopefully they get to help you with your homework. And remember, do your homework, please.